Would you stay silent if you saw someone treated unfairly, or would you stand up for them even if it meant risking everything? Olivia Carter stepped onto the Skylux Airlines first-class cabin with a sense of calm confidence. As the CEO of Brightmind Solutions, she was used to commanding boardrooms and leading cutting-edge projects in artificial intelligence. But today, she simply wanted a peaceful flight. Seat 2A was her escape a window seat she had booked weeks in advance, a small luxury she had earned. But that calm was shattered the moment she saw Victoria Blake standing by her seat. Dressed in a tailored grey suit, with an expensive handbag draped over her shoulder, Victoria's gaze swept over Olivia, sharp and dismissive. "This is my seat," Victoria declared, her voice cold. "I always sit here." Olivia smiled politely. "I believe you're mistaken. My ticket is for seat 2A. I booked it in advance and I'm a platinum member." But before she could finish, a flight attendant, Ashley Taylor, approached with a strained smile. "I apologize, ma'am, but we may have a small mix-up. Miss Blake is one of our long-standing platinum members." Olivia's smile faded slightly. "I understand, but I am also a platinum member, and this is the seat assigned to me." Ashley's expression tightened, and she cast a glance at Victoria, who raised an eyebrow as if waiting for Olivia to be moved. "Perhaps we could offer you another first-class seat, Miss Carter?" "No, thank you," Olivia replied firmly. "I reserved this seat. I have no reason to move." Whispers began to ripple through the first-class cabin. A few curious eyes glanced in their direction. Olivia remained calm, her back straight, her gaze unwavering. But beneath her composure, a quiet anger simmered. Victoria's voice grew louder, ensuring the surrounding passengers could hear. "I'm here every month. This is practically my seat. I don't understand why there's an issue." Ashley's smile grew more forced. "Miss Carter, I'm afraid we may need you to cooperate." "Cooperate with what?" Olivia's voice remained steady, but there was an edge to it now. "Being asked to give up a seat I paid for? A seat I reserved as a platinum member?" At that moment, another figure approached, Mark Spencer, the first-class supervisor. His tall frame and crisp uniform radiated authority. "Is there a problem here?" he asked, though his gaze focused on Olivia, not on Victoria. "Miss Carter here is refusing to move seats to accommodate Miss Blake," Ashley explained, her tone shifting slightly, as though Olivia was the problem. Mark nodded, then leaned down slightly, his voice lowering but his tone firm. "Miss Carter, I'm going to ask you one last time. Please cooperate and move to another seat." "I'm not moving," Olivia replied, her voice clear and resolute. Mark's eyes hardened. "If you continue to resist, we will have to involve the captain." "Feel free," Olivia said, "and I'll make sure to record every moment of this." The tension in the cabin thickened. A few passengers exchanged looks, some quietly pulling out their phones. Olivia's fingers tightened around the armrest, but she refused to show any fear. She knew exactly what was happening. This wasn't about a seat, it was about her place. Minutes later, a tall figure in a crisp captain's uniform entered, Captain Henry Parker. His grey eyes were sharp, his expression unreadable. "Miss Carter, I've been informed of a seating issue. For the comfort of all our guests, I must ask you to relocate to another seat." Olivia met his gaze without flinching. "Captain, I have a platinum membership. I booked this seat, and I have the right to remain here." Captain Parker's jaw tightened. "This is my final request. If you do not comply, we will have to involve airport security." A hush fell over the cabin. Passengers watched, some whispering, others recording. Olivia felt a rush of indignation, but she kept her voice calm. "Then do what you must, but I will not be moved." Captain Parker straightened. "Very well." He turned to Mark. "Begin the process." As Mark and Ashley moved away, Olivia calmly pulled out her phone, her fingers steady as she began to record. Her voice was clear, unshaken. This is Olivia Carter, Platinum member of Skylux Airlines. I am being threatened with removal from a seat I rightfully booked and paid for. The quiet hum of the cabin seemed to thicken, and in that charged silence, the battle lines were drawn. The hum of the first-class cabin grew tense as Olivia Carter continued recording, her voice calm but firm. I have done nothing wrong. I am a Platinum member, and this is the seat I reserved. Captain Henry Parker stood straight, his expression unreadable. Mark Spencer hovered just behind him, his arms crossed, his gaze sharp and unyielding. Ashley Taylor fidgeted nervously, avoiding Olivia's eyes. Miss Carter, I advise you to comply, Mark repeated, his voice low but forceful. You're creating a disruption. I am not creating a disruption, Olivia replied. I am standing up for my right as a customer. Behind them, Victoria Blake sat comfortably in a nearby seat, watching with a smug smile. Her manicured fingers tapped lightly on the armrest, and she leaned back, clearly enjoying the spectacle. Passengers whispered among themselves, a few quietly lifting their phones to record. Among them was Emma Johnson, a young woman with sharp eyes and a phone already filming, her gaze never leaving Olivia. Captain Parker's jaw tightened. Security will be here shortly. I advise you not to make this harder than it needs to be. I advise you not to make this a larger issue than it already is, Olivia countered, her voice steady. Because I guarantee you, this is far from over. Moments later, two uniformed security officers stepped into the cabin, their expressions neutral, but their presence intimidating. Mark stepped forward, a faint, satisfied smirk crossing his face. Ma'am, please gather your belongings and come with us, one of the officers instructed, his voice steady. Olivia's gaze didn't waver. Can you tell me why I'm being removed? Have I been disruptive? Am I a security threat? Or is this because I refused to give up a seat I rightfully booked? The officers exchanged glances, clearly uncomfortable. We are following the crew's instructions, ma'am. I see, Olivia said, her voice still calm, though her grip on her phone tightened. Then I want you to know that I am recording this, and I will make sure that the world sees how Skylux Airlines treats its Platinum members. Victoria let out a soft chuckle, shaking her head. Such drama. This is why I always get my seat. Ashley looked down, clearly conflicted, but she didn't speak. Mark's smirk only deepened. Please, ma'am, one of the officers repeated, his tone almost pleading. Olivia stood, calm and composed. I will comply, but I assure you, this will not end here. She picked up her tote bag, her every movement precise and measured, refusing to show any sign of defeat. As she stepped into the aisle, the cabin seemed to hold its breath. Some passengers looked away, ashamed. Others whispered quietly, their phones capturing every moment. Emma Johnson, her phone still recording, whispered to herself, Unbelievable. Olivia walked calmly towards the exit, the two security officers flanking her. As she stepped off the plane, she paused, turned, and took one last look at the smug face of Victoria Blake, who now lounged comfortably in the seat meant for her. And then she walked into the terminal, her phone still recording. The heavy glass doors closed behind her, sealing in the stifling atmosphere of the first-class cabin. But Olivia's story was far from over. In the terminal, Olivia found a quiet corner, opened her phone, and began typing. An email to her assistant, another to her lawyer, and a third to her communications team. Prepare a statement. I want the footage edited and ready for release. This isn't just about me. It's about everyone who has ever been treated like they don't belong. Back on the plane, as the cabin settled into an uncomfortable quiet, Victoria Blake smiled with quiet satisfaction. But across the aisle, Emma Johnson's fingers flew across her phone's screen, uploading the video with a simple caption. This is how Skylux Airlines treats its Platinum members. Justice for Olivia. Emma Johnson's fingers trembled slightly as she uploaded the video. The caption read, "This is how Skylux Airlines treats its platinum members. Justice for Olivia." Within seconds, notifications began to flood her screen, likes, comments, shares, spreading faster than she had anticipated. Olivia Carter, meanwhile, sat calmly in the airport lounge, her phone buzzing with messages. Her assistant had responded instantly. "We're drafting a statement now. Do you want us to reach out to the media?" Olivia's reply was direct. "Yes, and prepare all documentation. This will be public." Across social media, the video gained traction. It wasn't just another travel complaint, it was a clear case of discrimination. Olivia's calm but firm voice, the arrogant dismissal from Mark Spencer, the indifference of Captain Henry Parker, and the smug satisfaction of Victoria Blackett all told a story that resonated. Within an hour, #justice for Olivia was trending. Major influencers, journalists, and even other platinum members of Skylux shared the video, demanding an explanation. "Is this how Skylux treats loyal customers?" one tweet read. "Shameful," said another. "I will never fly with Skylux again," vowed another. Back on the plane, as the flight continued without Olivia, an uneasy silence settled over first class. Ashley Taylor avoided the passengers' eyes, her hands shaking slightly as she served drinks. Mark Spencer, leaning against the galley wall, watched with a smug smile. He seemed unaware of the storm that was already brewing. Victoria Blake reclined comfortably in seat 2A, sipping champagne, her gaze occasionally drifting towards the aisle with a satisfied smirk. "Finally, some peace," she murmured, but that peace was short-lived. As the plane soared over the clouds, the crew's tablets began to ping with notifications. Skylux Airlines' social media account was being flooded with comments and direct messages. Passengers on the plane began whispering, sharing the video link among themselves. "That's her, isn't it? The woman they kicked off?" one whispered. "I saw it online." "People are furious," another replied. In the cockpit, Captain Henry Parker glanced at his own device, his jaw tightening. "What the?" he muttered, realizing the situation was spiraling out of control. By the time the plane touched down, Skylux's customer service lines were overwhelmed. Thousands of emails poured in. Journalists from major news outlets began requesting statements. The public relations team scrambled, issuing a vague response. Skylux Airlines is aware of the incident and is conducting an internal investigation. But Olivia's team was faster. Her official statement was released across all social media platforms, complete with the video footage Emma had captured. As a platinum member of Skylux Airlines, I was forcibly removed from my reserved seat despite following all procedures and policies. This is not just about a seat, it's about dignity, respect, and the treatment of loyal customers. We cannot allow such discrimination to go unchecked. News outlets quickly picked up the story. CEO removed from first-class seat despite platinum status, one headline read. Skylux Airlines faces backlash over discrimination incident, declared another. Inside Skylux's headquarters, chaos reigned. Thomas Bennett, the CEO, stared at his phone in disbelief. "Who is this woman?" he demanded. "How did this become a global scandal in just hours?" "Her name is Olivia Carter, CEO of Brightmind Solutions," his assistant explained, her voice tense. "She's not just a platinum member, she's a public figure." Thomas's face paled. "Get Mark Spencer and Captain Parker on the phone, now." But it was too late. Olivia's story was already out, and the world was watching. In the sleek, glass-walled boardroom of Skylux Airlines headquarters, Thomas Bennett stood staring at the massive screen dominating the wall. It was covered with live social media feeds, tweets, Instagram posts, news articles, all condemning Skylux. #Justice for Olivia was trending worldwide. "This is spiraling out of control," Thomas muttered, his jaw clenched. Around him, his senior team sat in uneasy silence, each tapping at their laptops, desperately trying to control the narrative. "We've issued a statement," mumbled Jenna, the head of PR, her voice wavering. "But it's not enough. People are demanding action. They're calling for boycotts." "Fire someone!" Thomas snapped. "We need a scapegoat. Make this go away." "Who?" Jenna asked nervously. "Mark Spencer." "Captain Parker? Ashley Taylor?" Thomas rubbed his temples. "All of them, if we must. But it has to look like we're taking this seriously." In that moment, his phone rang. He answered with a forced calm. "Yes?" "Mr. Bennett, this is Olivia Carter." A cold sweat prickled at his temples. "Ms. Carter, Save it." Olivia's voice was calm, but cold. "I'm giving you one chance to make this right. I want a full, public apology. I want the employees responsible held accountable, and I want an immediate policy change at Skylux." "We can discuss this," Thomas began, but Olivia's voice cut through him. "No discussion. This is not negotiable. I'm not just a platinum member, Mr. Bennett. I'm the CEO of Bright Mind Solutions. I know how to handle a crisis, and I know how to end a brand." Thomas's grip on the phone tightened. "Ms. Carter, I understand you're upset, but please understand this is a complex situation." "It's simple," Olivia replied. "Your staff discriminated against me, and you did nothing. Now the world knows." Thomas's eyes flicked to the screen. The number of tweets was skyrocketing. News anchors were now discussing the incident live. "I'll have my team prepare a formal apology," he conceded. "But please, I ask for a bit of time." "You have 24 hours, Olivia stated. "And if I don't see real action, I will escalate this." The line went dead. Thomas slammed his phone down. "Get me Mark, Ashley, and Captain Parker, now!" he barked. Minutes later, Mark Spencer, Ashley Taylor, and Captain Henry Parker were ushered into the boardroom. Their faces were pale, their postures rigid. "Do you three have any idea what you've done?" Thomas demanded, his voice cold and sharp. "This company is being destroyed in real time because of your incompetence." "Sir, she was being difficult," Mark began, his tone defensive. "She wouldn't cooperate." "Difficult?" Thomas sneered. "She's a platinum member, a customer who paid for her seat, and instead of solving the issue, you escalated it." Ashley's eyes welled up. "I didn't know it would become this big." "Because you didn't think," Thomas's voice thundered. "You saw a wealthy, white regular and thought she was more important than a black woman with just as much status." Captain Parker cleared his throat. "Sir, I was following procedure." "Your procedure has put us on the front page of every news outlet," Thomas shouted. "I am this close to firing all of you." Silence fell. Mark looked at his feet, Ashley wiped a tear, and Captain Parker's jaw tightened. "But firing you is too simple," Thomas continued, his tone darkening. "We're going to make an example of you. All three of you will be suspended immediately without pay. You will be investigated for misconduct, and depending on the findings, you may be permanently terminated." Mark's face went pale. "Sir, please, get out," Thomas barked. "Now." The three turned and left the room, their faces ashen. As the door closed, Thomas turned back to Jenna. "We need a stronger statement. Apologize to Ms. Carter publicly, announce the suspension of the employees involved, and launch a full investigation." "Yes, sir," Jenna whispered, already typing furiously. But even as the company scrambled to save face, Olivia Carter had not stopped. She watched the chaos unfold from her office, her phone buzzing non-stop. Offers of legal support flooded in, news networks requested interviews. Social media influencers backed her, and in her inbox, a message from Emma Johnson appeared. "Ms. Carter, I was the one who recorded the video. I have more footage if you need it." Olivia's lips curved into a faint smile. "Emma, let's talk." Olivia Carter leaned back in her office chair, the soft glow of the city lights spilling through the floor-to-ceiling windows behind her. Her phone buzzed incessantly, messages of support, requests for interviews, even offers of legal assistance. But she remained focused. Emma Johnson. Olivia's voice was calm but firm as she answered the call. I received your message. You have more footage? Yes, ma'am. Emma's voice was slightly nervous. I filmed everything from the moment they asked you to move until they escorted you out. Send it to me, Olivia instructed. And Emma, thank you. Moments later, the files appeared in her inbox. Olivia's assistant entered, holding a tablet. The Skylux statement just went live. They've suspended the employees. They're launching an internal investigation. Olivia glanced at the statement. It was a carefully worded apology, but there was no real accountability. No names were mentioned, no direct acknowledgement of discrimination. They're trying to contain it, Olivia muttered. They still think this will pass. Do you want to respond? Her assistant asked. Not yet. Let them think they're winning. Across the city, at Skylux Airline's headquarters, Thomas Bennett sat surrounded by his senior executives. Jenna, the PR director, looked pale and exhausted. The apology isn't working, she admitted. People are calling it a cover-up. They want names. They want accountability. And what about Olivia Carter? Thomas asked. She hasn't responded yet, but her video keeps gaining traction. Media outlets are running stories about her. Influencers are demanding justice. Thomas rubbed his temples. This woman is a nightmare. Maybe if we offered a settlement, suggested one executive. No, Thomas snapped. If we offer her money, it looks like we're guilty. Meanwhile, Olivia was strategizing. She contacted her legal team. I want to file a formal complaint with the Department of Transportation. Document everything. Her team moved quickly. Within hours, an official complaint was filed, citing discrimination, unethical practices, and breach of customer rights. News of the complaint only fueled the outrage, but Olivia wasn't done. She reached out to influential Voices civil rights leaders, other CEOs, and social justice advocates. This isn't just about me. It's about everyone who has ever been pushed aside because they didn't fit someone's idea of who belongs. Emma Johnson continued to support Olivia, sharing additional footage on social media. Her videos went viral, showing not just the confrontation, but the smirks of Mark Spencer and the indifferent look of Captain Henry Parker. This is how they treat loyal customers, Emma's voice narrated over the clips. If they can do this to a platinum member, imagine how they treat everyone else. The video reached over 2 million views within 24 hours. News anchors analyzed the footage. Talk show hosts discussed the growing scandal. Hashtag justice. For Olivia and boycott Skylux were everywhere. But in the heart of the storm, Olivia remained composed. She didn't react with anger. She didn't shout. She spoke calmly, directly, and strategically. This is not just about me, she stated in a live interview. It's about fairness. It's about respect. It's about a company that has forgotten the value of its customers. Back at Skylux, the pressure was unbearable. Calls flooded the customer service lines. Major corporate clients began expressing concern. Travel agencies reconsidered their partnerships. And within the company, employees whispered in the hallways, "Are we next?" Thomas Bennett's phone rang again. This time it was a lawyer. "Thomas, we have a problem. Olivia Carter's team just filed a formal complaint with the Department of Transportation." "What?" Thomas's voice cracked. "She went to the government, and she has proof. Recorded footage, witness testimonies. If they launch an investigation, this could destroy us." Panic settled over the room. Thomas stared at the wall, feeling the weight of the scandal closing in. "We need a new plan. We need to do something drastic." But even as Skylux struggled, Olivia's calm voice continued to resonate. "It's not about revenge. It's about accountability. If they won't hold themselves responsible, then the world will." The next morning, Skylux Airlines was drowning in a sea of outrage. Social media was relentless, With new hashtags emerging, accountability now, had boycott Skylux, had dignity matters. Olivia Carter's face was everywhere: interviews, news articles, opinion pieces. Her calm, poised demeanor contrasted sharply with Skylux's fumbling attempts at crisis management. At her office, Olivia's phone buzzed with notifications. Journalists wanted exclusive interviews. Civil rights leaders voiced their support. Lawyers offered to take on her case pro bono, but she declined. "This isn't just about a lawsuit," Olivia told her team. "This is about real change." Olivia's assistant entered, looking tense. "You need to see this." She handed Olivia a tablet. Skylux had released another statement. This time, they named Mark Spencer, Ashley Taylor, and Captain Henry Parker as the suspended employees. "This is their idea of accountability," Olivia muttered. "Scapegoats. They're protecting the system." She picked up her phone and dialed Emma Johnson. "Emma, can you help me? I want to hear from other people who've been treated this way. Can you ask your followers to share their stories?" Within an hour, Emma had posted a call to action. "Have you ever been mistreated by Skylux Airlines or any other company because of who you are? Share your story with hashtag Dignity Matters." Stories flooded in. A young black couple denied seats despite having first-class tickets. An elderly Asian man ignored by attendants while others were served. A Latina mother humiliated for asking for assistance. The hashtag trended, becoming a movement far beyond Olivia's story. "This isn't just about Skylux," Olivia told her assistant. "It's about a culture of discrimination hiding behind polite smiles." Back at Skylux headquarters, Thomas Bennett watched in horror as the crisis spread. "How is this getting worse?" he demanded. "People are sharing their own stories now," Jenna, the PR director, replied. "It's not just about Olivia anymore. It's a movement." "Then shut it down," Thomas shouted. "Release another statement. Tell them we're investigating. We're committed to fairness." But Jenna shook her head. "That won't work. People don't believe us. They see this as a pattern." Desperate, Thomas called a crisis management firm. "Fix this," he ordered. Their advice was blunt. "You need to show real change. Apologizing isn't enough. You have to rebuild trust." "How?" Thomas demanded. "Start with those 3 employees. If you want to show you're serious, you need to fire them, publicly." "That will destroy them," Thomas whispered. "Better them than your entire company," the crisis manager replied. But even as Thomas wrestled with his options, Olivia was 3 steps ahead. She announced a live interview, promising to share her story and her vision for real change. Major networks fought for the rights, and Olivia chose the most trusted CNN. The interview room was calm, the lighting soft but clear. Olivia sat opposite the anchor, her expression calm but determined. "Olivia Carter, thank you for joining us. The world has watched your story unfold, but for you, this is personal. What do you want to see happen now?" "I want accountability," Olivia replied. "Not just for me, but for everyone who has ever been treated unfairly because they didn't fit someone's idea of who belongs." Skylux's response has been weak. They've suspended employees, but they haven't addressed the root issue: a culture that protects privilege over fairness. And what would real accountability look like? Real accountability means acknowledging the problem, not just denying it. It means changing policies, training staff, and ensuring this never happens again. Back at Skylux, Thomas watched the interview, his fists clenched. Olivia wasn't just telling her story, she was defining the narrative. As the interview ended, the anchor leaned forward. "And if Skylux refuses to change, then we change Skylux," Olivia said simply. "Or we replace it." The video clip of that statement went viral within minutes. Olivia's words became a rallying cry. Change Skylux trended next. That night, Thomas sat in his darkened office, the city lights a cold glow outside. His company was crumbling around him. His phone rang again. "Thomas, this is serious. A board member's voice was sharp. "If you don't fix this, we will remove you." "I'm trying," Thomas whispered, but he knew the truth. He wasn't just fighting to save his company, he was fighting to save his own career. In her own office, Olivia Carter smiled slightly as she closed her laptop. The world had listened. But her fight wasn't over. It was only just beginning. Within 48 hours, #Change Skylux was everywhere. Social media platforms were flooded with stories of discrimination, not just at Skylux Airlines, but across the luxury travel industry. People who had never spoken out before found their voices, emboldened by Olivia Carter's stand. Skylux Airlines headquarters felt like a war zone. Phone lines were jammed with complaints. The company's stock price plummeted by 15% in a single day. Major corporate clients began to reconsider their partnerships. Thomas Bennett was barely sleeping. Meetings stretched into the early hours as his crisis team scrambled for solutions, but every idea seemed to backfire. A second statement of apology was ridiculed online as insincere. Promises of an internal investigation were dismissed as another PR stunt. In a desperate move, Thomas called an emergency board meeting. The boardroom was filled with anxious faces. Investors dialed in remotely, their screens a wall of worried expressions. "We're bleeding clients," one board member announced. "If this doesn't end, we're done." "I've received calls from 3 investment firms," another added. "They're considering pulling out." "This all started because of a single incident," Thomas argued, his voice strained. "We can fix this." "This isn't just one incident," another voice countered. "This is a systemic problem, and the world sees it now." A murmur of agreement spread through the room. Thomas felt his grip slipping. "So what do we do?" he demanded. One of the senior board members leaned forward. "We need a complete overhaul, publicly. Real changes, not just apologies." "Such as?" Thomas asked, trying to hide his panic. "Start with leadership. Someone has to be held accountable," the board member said, his eyes locking on Thomas. Thomas felt a chill. "You want me to resign? If that's what it takes to save the company?" A tense silence settled over the room. But before anyone could speak, the screen lit up with a notification, an urgent email from Olivia Carter. Thomas opened it. It was direct, powerful. "To the Skylux board, your half measures are failing. This is not just about firing a few employees. It is about transforming a toxic culture. I demand the immediate removal of all staff involved in the incident, an independent audit of Skylux's customer service practices, and a seat on the board to ensure transparency and fairness moving forward. If you fail to comply, I will sell my 25% stake in Skylux to the highest bidder and publicly announce that I have lost all faith in this company's leadership. You have 24 hours to respond. Olivia Carter." The room was silent. A few board members looked at Thomas, their gazes cold and calculating. "If she sells," one whispered, "the stock will crash." "We'll lose everything," another muttered. "She's holding the knife now," the senior board member stated. "So what do we do?" But even as Skylux's leadership faltered, Olivia's campaign gained momentum. Media outlets covered her demand. Civil rights organizations voiced their support. Influential business leaders praised her courage. In her office, Olivia prepared for the next move. Her assistant brought in a fresh report. Emma Johnson's video has now surpassed 5 million views. News anchors are calling you the voice of change in corporate America. "That's not the goal," Olivia said, her voice calm. "The goal is real change." But even she couldn't ignore the power she now wielded. Her inbox was filled with messages, support, partnership offers, and even some from other corporations wanting her help to review their policies. Her phone buzzed with a text from Emma. "People are asking if there's a petition." Olivia smiled slightly. "Start one. Let's give them a voice." Within an hour, the petition went live. Demand Skylux Airlines commit to fair treatment for all customers. It gathered 100,000 signatures in the first 3 hours. Back at Skylux, Thomas Bennett watched in horror as the crisis reached a new peak. Jenna, the PR director, entered the room. "We need to accept her terms, Thomas." "We have no choice. If we do that, she owns us," Thomas whispered. "If we don't, she destroys us." The next morning, a public announcement was issued. Skylux Airlines formally apologized to Olivia Carter and all customers who experienced discrimination. They announced the immediate termination of Mark Spencer, Ashley Taylor, and Captain Henry Parker. An independent audit would begin, and Olivia Carter would be invited to join the Skylux Board of Directors as an advisor for customer rights and equity. Olivia watched the announcement from her office. Her assistant smiled. "You did it." But Olivia's expression was calm, almost somber. "This is just the beginning. Changing policies is easy. Changing hearts is the real challenge." Olivia Carter's name became synonymous with change. Skylux Airlines' public apology and the announcement of her appointment as an advisor to the board sent shockwaves through the industry. But while the world applauded her victory, Olivia knew the battle had just begun. Her first day at Skylux headquarters was met with hushed whispers and curious stares. Thomas Bennett tried to present a calm, professional front, but the tension was clear. Olivia walked with quiet confidence, her assistant by her side, and was led into the massive boardroom she had once seen only through news reports. "Ms. Carter, thank you for joining us," Thomas began, his voice carefully measured. "We believe your insights will be invaluable." "I'm here to ensure that this company truly changes," Olivia responded, her tone polite but firm. "Not just for show." Thomas's smile faltered slightly, but he nodded. "Of course." The first step was the independent audit. Olivia worked with a team of external consultants, reviewing customer service records, employee training programs, and internal communication. What they found was worse than she expected: patterns of preferential treatment, complaints ignored, and a culture that favored long-standing wealthy clients at the expense of others. In one meeting, Olivia presented the findings to the board. "This is not a customer service problem, it's a cultural problem," she stated. "And until you change how you see your customers, this will happen again." "What do you suggest?" asked one of the board members. "We start with training, but it can't just be a checkbox exercise. Every employee, from the CEO to the cabin crew, must undergo intensive training on ethics, diversity, and customer rights." "That's expensive," another board member grumbled. "Not as expensive as losing your brand's reputation," Olivia countered. Reluctantly, the board approved her plan. Skylux announced a mandatory training program for all employees, led by external experts. Olivia didn't stop there. She insisted on regular anonymous surveys to allow employees to report discrimination without fear of retaliation. But the resistance wasn't only from the board. Some employees resented the changes, whispering that Olivia was there to destroy the company. Others quietly thanked her, especially those who had felt silenced for years. Mark Spencer, Ashley Taylor, and Captain Henry Parker became public examples of the fallout. News outlets followed their stories, and interviews with them revealed their regret. "I didn't think it was a big deal at the time," Mark admitted in a somber interview. "But looking back, I see how wrong I was. I just did what I thought would keep the peace," Ashley whispered, her voice breaking. "But I stayed silent when I should have spoken up." Captain Parker, once proud and untouchable, struggled to rebuild his career. "I was supposed to ensure safety and fairness. I failed." But Olivia's influence went beyond Skylux. Other companies took notice. Airlines, hotels, and luxury services quietly reviewed their own policies, fearing similar scandals. Some reached out to Olivia, asking for her guidance. Meanwhile, the #Dignity Matters movement continued to grow. People across industries shared their stories of discrimination, and Olivia became a sought-after speaker at conferences and universities. Her calm, articulate voice became a symbol of quiet strength. One evening, after a long day at Skylux, Olivia's assistant entered her office. "You've got a call from Emma Johnson." Olivia smiled and picked up the phone. "Emma." "Hey, Olivia. I just wanted to say thank you." "None of this would have happened without you." "No, Emma, it wouldn't have happened without you. You were brave enough to record what was wrong." "Are you sure you want to keep going?" Emma asked. "This fight seems never-ending." Olivia leaned back in her chair, her gaze drifting to the city lights. "It is, but that's the point. Real change is a constant fight. It's not about one victory. It's about making sure what happened to me doesn't happen to anyone else." A week later, Skylux Airlines held a press conference. Thomas Bennett stepped forward, but this time he wasn't alone. Olivia Carter stood beside him, her expression calm yet resolute. "Ladies and gentlemen," Thomas began, his voice steady but humble, "Skylux Airlines has made mistakes. We failed to protect the dignity of all our customers, and for that, we are deeply sorry." Olivia stepped forward. "But apologies are just words. Real change is action. That's why we are launching the Skylux Dignity Initiative, a comprehensive program to ensure that every passenger is treated with respect, regardless of status, appearance, or background." Reporters raised their hands, questions flying. "Ms. Carter, do you believe this initiative will truly change the company?" "It will," Olivia replied, her voice unwavering, "because I'll be here to make sure it does." In the days that followed, Skylux's reputation began to recover. Passengers praised the new, respectful service. Employees who once felt voiceless found a sense of pride in their work. Olivia's influence transformed Skylux from a symbol of privilege to a beacon of accountability. And as for Olivia Carter, her story became a legend, one woman who stood her ground, forced a corporation to change, and proved that true power lies not in privilege, but in the courage to stand for what's right. In life, moments of conflict often reveal the true nature of our values. The story of Olivia Carter and Skylux Airlines is not just about a single incident of discrimination. It is a powerful reminder of the importance of courage, integrity, and resilience in the face of injustice. For older American audiences who have witnessed decades of societal change, this story is a call to reflect on the progress made and the work still left to do. It is a reminder that while laws may change, true equality is measured not just by policies, but by actions, attitudes, and the willingness of ordinary people to stand up for what is right. At its core, Olivia's story is about the courage to stand firm in the face of unfair treatment. She could have quietly moved to another seat, avoiding conflict. She could have accepted the discrimination and let it pass, as so many have done in the past. But she chose to speak up, to document the truth, and to demand accountability, not just for herself, but for everyone who has ever been marginalized. Her actions remind us that courage does not always roar. Sometimes it is the quiet, calm voice that says, "This is wrong, and I will not accept it." For older viewers, this is a lesson that resonates deeply, perhaps stirring memories of their own battles against prejudice, whether in the workplace, the community, or even within their own families. But courage alone is not enough. Olivia's story also highlights the importance of resilience. When Skylux Airlines tried to silence her, she did not retreat. When the company issued vague apologies, she did not accept them. Instead, she expanded her fight, turning a personal injustice into a movement for change. Resilience means refusing to be defeated by setbacks. And Olivia's journey shows that true resilience is not just about personal strength, it is about using that strength to uplift others. For those who have experienced hardship, who have fought for their rights or the rights of others, Olivia's story is a reminder that every act of resilience is a ripple that can become a wave. It is never too late to stand up for what is right, to fight for justice, or to support others who do. Another critical lesson in this story is the power of accountability. Skylux Airlines was forced to confront its own failures, not because of a single incident, but because Olivia refused to allow them to hide behind vague statements and half-hearted apologies. She demanded real change, firing employees who violated ethical standards, conducting an independent audit, and ensuring that the company transformed its culture. For older audiences who have seen companies, institutions, and even leaders avoid accountability for wrongdoing, this story is a powerful testament to the idea that accountability is not just a word, it is a responsibility. It means facing the truth, accepting the consequences, and committing to meaningful change. But most importantly, Olivia's journey is a story of leadership. Not leadership defined by titles or authority, but by the willingness to lead by example. She became a voice for others, not just through her words, but through her actions. She could have accepted a private apology and walked away, but instead, she chose to become a force for systemic change. For older Americans who have served as mentors, caregivers, and community leaders, Olivia's leadership is a reminder that true leadership is about service, about making a difference in the lives of others, even when it is difficult. Ultimately, the story of Olivia Carter and Skylux Airlines is a call to action. It is a reminder that each of us has the power to create change, whether by speaking up against injustice, supporting those who do, or holding others accountable for their actions. For those who have ever felt marginalized, ignored, or mistreated, Olivia's story is a beacon of hope. It is a promise that even in the face of power, dignity, and integrity can prevail. And for those who have always believed in justice, it is a reminder that the fight never ends, that with courage, resilience, and leadership, each of us can leave the world a little better than we found it. Because in the end, the true measure of a society is not how it treats its most privileged, but how it stands up for those who are treated unfairly.